What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Friday, everybody. I haven't been active almost all day because it's my dear mother's birthday, and I was busy with her, spending some time with her. But now I get a little chance to talk to you guys about something that dropped today from my friend Chris Ramsay at Area 52, who has a wonderful, one of the best channels on these topics. We've had some conversations in the past, and we stay in touch. I know that he prefers covering cases from the past, from history, and he likes to explore stories that seem very French and very out there, but he asks you to suspend disbelief. And I think that's a wonderful way to run a channel about these topics. The Y Files run their channel like that too. He's always grounded, I think. When he's skeptical about something, he always expresses it. He has different types of formats for his show. One of them is called Debriefed, which is his podcast of interviews. And he's had pretty much everybody by this point, just a few that he hasn't interviewed yet. But today he had a former CIA officer, John Ramirez, who, as you guys know, when he came out a few years ago, he made a bunch of really wild claims about different topics and subjects. And over a year and a half that I've been doing this, I've met some people from both the military and the intelligence community who tell me that John Ramirez does have credentials to support the claims that he makes. The thing is that he makes some really wild claims. One of these claims is about 2027, for example. He first came out saying that NHI were going to show up in 2027 or something like that. And then he said that that information came from the channeling community. And I've already told you what I think about the channeling community. Nothing against them. I just think that trying to make predictions from remote viewing or channeling is not always reliable. Most of the times it's not reliable. So you got to take those types of claims with a grain of salt. But in this episode with Chris, he talked about three things that I think are really important. The one that I'm not going to cover today has to do with consciousness and a program that he talked about, and how consciousness is deeply tied to our interactions with these objects and NHI in general. But the things that I do want to cover are two. One of them is going to be at the final end of this video, so you might want to stick around until the end. But the one that is, like, for me, the most shocking is his talk about hybrids. And this goes into a really controversial conversation that I've been following in the background, which has to do with human DNA and certain bloodlines that seem to have, according to what Mr. Ramirez is going to say here, and I've been talking to people within the military who've had encounters with some UAP and they've suffered injuries. You guys have heard from John Burroughs on my channel. I've talked to him twice. He suffered a UAP injury. He's one of two people only in the world, or at least in the Western world, who has a disability that claims and states there, signed by late Senator John McCain, that states that he was injured by UAP. And there were a bunch of things that he went through and some of the people he dealt with that made him really angry at the way that his case was being handled. And I do agree with him there. There's a lot of stuff that they don't tell these people. And Mr. John Ramirez talks about this a little bit with his own medical records that they weren't disclosed to him because they were classified. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think it's okay to not give a person's medical records to them. I think that's wrong. And the same thing happened with John Burroughs. And the same thing is happening to a lot of military personnel. And I think that some of the fight that both John Burroughs and my friend Toby Martinez are doing has to do with that, with more awareness to this problem that people within the military are suffering from UAP injuries and they're being flatly ignored. And this, I think, and this is just connections that I've been doing for months now, this has to do with, I think, some changes in the person's DNA when they have contact with some of these UAP. I don't know if it has to do with the French and really controversial hybridization program, which is what John Ramirez is going to talk about just now. But I've been digging into this, and I think that there are people who do believe that certain bloodlines are different than the rest of humans. And some of these bloodlines, according to John Ramirez and to some of the people that I've spoken to in the background, seem to be different. They still have human markers to them, but they also have something different to them. According to John and some of these people that I've spoken to, their DNA specifically, their DNA tests and results and studies, they were denied to them because they're classified. I don't know why that is. It may be related to this hybrid program. But before I show you the video, I just want to make a quick clarification about my show's logo, because I just recently had an issue with an agency that was trying to work with me to improve many aspects of my channel, get me on other podcast platforms. And they decided to not do it because my logo was controversial. And I just gotta give you a quick backstory of where the logo came from, because it is somewhat related to the hybrid stuff, because I decided to relate it to that just for marketing sakes, you know? So this is the original logo that I still have on my YouTube channel of Psicoactivo. Up there in the right corner, it says portrait of five different minds. And this was made by one of my good friends from high school. He's a Canadian man, actually. And I think it's a fun synchronicity because I am covering Chris Ramsay's video. He's Canadian as well. Maybe Chris can help me find my friend, because he's nowhere to be found. He completely disappeared from everybody. We don't know where he is. It's like he never existed. It's really weird. His name is Luke Joseph Digan Borsman. And he did high school with us here in Tijuana. He had an unusual talent for drawing and for artistry, as you guys can see. He did this just out of his pulse. This right here below, it's supposed to be one mind. This right here in the left side that has this circle is supposed to be another mind. This in the right is another one. This right here is another one. And this little symbol right here is another one. So that's 5 minds in one. That's the initial meaning that he gave to this drawing. And I decided to use it for Psicoactivo. I looked for him everywhere. This drawing was held by one of my best friends, who's also a friend of Luke's, and he gave it to me. I have that drawing here with me. And I used it, and I've been trying to look for Luke for the longest time, because I want him to know that his drawing became the logo of my show. And I hold this close to my heart, because Luke was one of my best friends from high school, and we're really puzzled by where he is, because we don't know where he is. We're still really puzzled by that. But the person who was part of this agency told me that this symbol in the left was controversial, and that I needed to take it out, because either sponsors or other brands wouldn't be able to work with me because of the connotation that it has. Honestly, I don't think it's really a big deal. Luke did this drawing because when we were in high school, we would always go to a cafe and talk about esotericism and secret societies and all this stuff, world wars, all this stuff. And we just have fun just talking about this and exploring this. And we even made our own mock secret society called the Divine Ignorance. And that's what the initial name of my channel was going to be before I named it Psicoactivo. And I was really disappointed at this agency. I'm not going to name them, but I was really disappointed because nobody's going to censor my channel in any way. I will never allow that. And I already try to be careful with the way that I cover stuff, but my channel will not be censored, especially with this, because this is really personal to me. Before I went to KGRA, my friend Todd Harper, who is an illustrator, he's a really amazing artist. I'm going to leave links in the description for his work. He helped me reimagine the logo, and I wanted him to do initially what he wanted to do, whatever he wanted to do with it. And he came up with a black and white rendition. And when I started collaborating with the KGRA family, that black and white rendition, they made it into something colored, and they added a few different details to the new logo, which is this one. And the face is the face of an alien, because Todd and I were speaking about creating something that was a hybrid because of this alleged secret hybrid program that John Ramirez is going to talk about in a little bit. And I kept this symbol right here. I kept this blue eye that has to do with Luke, my friend, because he was freakishly tall. He looked like a Nordic, actually, which is kind of funny. And the eye at the top, I asked the KGRA folks to change it to a reptilian eye because I wanted to have like the full representation of all like species. On the right side of the face, we have a human eye, blue eye. On the other side, we'd have an alien eye or an NHI eye. The face is alien. This right here, I wanted to stay cryptic and strange because to me, this is a representation of consciousness in a sense, and that other type of sentience that we still don't understand, which is consciousness. And then at the very top, it's the reptilian eye. So that was the idea for my logo. I just wanted to explain it to you guys because it connects with this hybridization program that John Ramirez is going to talk about. And I just want to give a shout out to Luke, my friend, Luke Joseph Digan Borsman. Luke Joseph Digan Borsman. We're looking for you, man. We would love it if you like showed up because we don't really know where you are. We've been searching for every social media platform, your name on it. Hopefully you have a family, you have kids, you've done well with your life. But yeah, we're looking for you, man. We would really like it if you responded. Because your art is amazing and we want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. I want to see you again. My friends too. We were all wondering where you are. This is Luke. You can see he looks Nordic. He was really towered over all of us. That's one of my other friends from Mexico. And you can see how tall he was. This friend of mine right here, he's over 6 feet tall. I'm not going to show him in any way. I just want to show Luke. Luke Joseph Digan Borsman. That's his name. If you guys can help me find him, that would be really cool. But now on to what I wanted to show you guys with John. Shout out to Chris Ramsay. This was an amazing conversation. I'm going to link it in the description so you guys can check it out. But I want to start with perhaps the most important question of them all, because John Ramirez said in this interview that he attended a hotel where he was given a briefing of hybrid lineages that the government was searching for and was aware of. And before I continue, I just want to tell you guys, I don't know what to make of Mr. John Ramirez, or all I can tell you is that there's a lot of people within the government and intelligence community that trust him and that really learn a lot from him. He's very knowledgeable, especially with the intelligence community information and the culture. He's really deeply knowledgeable. So he clearly worked with the CIA. He clearly knows a lot of stuff, a lot of classified stuff. And he's always stricken me as a decent human being. He's very educated. He's a gentleman whenever he addresses anybody. You can see it in the interview here. But many of the claims, I'm with you guys. They're really out there, especially the hybrids. He talks about the 2027 stuff. He talks about a new office that I just found out could exist, that is like the NRO, but it's the NURO, the National Underwater Reconnaissance Office, which is very interesting. And I'm going to play you a clip after I play you this about the hybrid program and this really important question from Chris.
Do you think, now we're going to go more into this hybrid thing because I want to hear what they had to say about that. I think it's very fascinating. But do you think at any point before we get into this that you might have been led into some weird honey trap situation where they give you passage material? Do you think that because I know a lot of the audience is going to be like, oh, maybe this is a whole setup or something. Did that ever cross your mind? Did that ever
Never crossed my mind. Never crossed my mind. No.
Yeah. It didn't feel like that at all. Okay.
Not at all. Because when there's passage material, we actually read into the passage material. And my explanation for that is this, that I was involved in some covert programs, and it required me to be overseas, undercover, with a different name, complete different biography, complete different history. I was sent overseas with actual documents. And I was told that if you're stopped, even by customs when you're coming back to the United States or the other customs of the foreign country you're going to, that we want you to have a cover story. You have to have.
If you wonder where this passage material term comes from, I heard it from different sources, but somebody who speaks about it is Jeremy Corbell, when he denies that the Tic Tac is Lockheed Martin's, because that's a claim that Dr. Stephen Greer makes. And when Jeremy Corbell explains it, he says, yeah, that's known as passage material. He says that Commander Fravor, for example, was shown documents that say that the Tic Tac is Lockheed Martin's. And Jeremy Corbell said, no, that is passage material. That's not real information. That's where that term comes from. I just wanted to clarify that in case any of you were wondering.
Have to have a cover legend, and you can use these cover legends depending on the circumstance. So I was given the passage material to pass on. And also, I would say that because of the nature of that symposium, I discounted that completely because of who was there.
Understood. And what was everyone else's reaction to this news?
I was surprised that there was no reaction.
Huh.
And I didn't even have a reaction. I just took it all in. I thought to myself, sounds a little classified to me, but I was interested in what General Haynes has to say about the hybridization, alien DNA.
By the way, General Haynes is the person who briefed them on the hybrid program, or the alleged hybrid program, according to John Ramirez.
CIA's interest in aliens.
Okay, let's get into this a little bit more, because now this is becoming very, very, very interesting, because this connects with so many other stories of, experiencers and everything else. So the CIA is basically giving this presentation in an unofficial, in an unclassified capacity about sequences in the DNA of the Roswell aliens that are connecting human DNA.
I assume they were Roswell aliens. I would say they were non-humans.
They were non-humans.
Non-humans, whether they were collected from the Roswell crash or other retrievals, I don't know.
Okay.
But the key phrase that Gerald Haynes used was, since World War II, after World War II, we were interested in alien DNA, particularly found in humans.
So this is where it gets really French, because there are many theories, right? But specifically after World War II that they became interested. This goes into a bunch of stuff related to the Magenta crash. This goes into potentially World War II being fought over some type of technology that came from that Magenta crash. And I don't know what knowledge was learned after World War II that made them interested in this specifically, human DNA and potential hybrids among us. And I know it gets really wild because you guys already know that, for example, there are some people that are like more sensitive to ESP and to remote viewing and to psi phenomena, which is real. I've been covering this extensively from where I come from in Mexico. There's a bunch of lore about ESP and psi phenomena. Each culture takes it differently. In Mexico, there are shamans, and they believe that they commune with the elements. Some other places, it's different cultures, different types of entities that they say that they commune with. And I think it's related to this, the remote viewing program and all this. It could be related to this specifically. And when I spoke to one of the people who were injured by UAP, and they told me, because I wanted to ask, so they didn't want to give you their information about your DNA and your medical records. Yeah, but they told me something that really scared me, and now I don't want to know. That's what they said. And I asked, well, what did they tell you? If I said this in public, he said, there would be societal disruption. And just think about the different race disagreements that have happened throughout history, and discrimination and all that, and multiply that by 10. That's what I think would happen, he told me, because people would find out that there are different people that are not completely human among us, or that have different DNA among us. That really puzzled me when this person told me that. So this could potentially be related to this.
At that time, I didn't know anything about magenta. Had no knowledge of magenta, of that craft and that retrieval. Had no knowledge that we may have had the craft itself with, as David Grush would call, biologics on board.
Mhm.
But he said after World War II. So that, in hindsight, makes sense that, okay, maybe, that's where it came from, or other retrievals where there were beings on board.
Yeah, because allegedly
covered.
the crash in Italy in Magenta, which happened in 33, wasn't sent to the United States until Pope Pius agreed to send it in 45.
Yeah,
right?
44, 45.
44,
yeah.
45. So that would have been what he was talking about.
Mhm.
But didn't, and maybe I'm mistaken here, but I heard, and this is uncorroborated evidence, or it's speculative at best, but that the beings on board of the Magenta craft were humanoid looking.
Mhm.
They were like tall blondes.
Mhm.
So I hear. Was that?
You see? And that's why one of the reasons because I've heard this before about the tall blondes and the Nordics and all that. And that's why I wanted to keep this tribute to my friend Luke, because it's really strange that he disappeared. And as you can see, he was kind of Nordic looking, really freakishly tall, had an really unusual talent for art, for drawing. I remember when I met him, he just took a pencil out and we were just goofing around, and he just drew a monster just like that, really quickly, really detailed. And I was like, how the hell did you do that, man? He was like, I don't know. I was just born with this. So this is why. And I don't know. It's just correlations. I'm not saying anything, but I just found it really interesting that John was talking about this. I don't know what to make of it. You guys can make of it what you will. But yeah, that's a correlation that I made with the reason that I made my logo, and the reason that I chose my logo, and why I decided to change it a little bit is because of this fringe story about the hybrids program, and that many humans may not be completely human. That's wild.
Is that at all mentioned during the symposium?
No.
Was the type of alien mentioned?
No.
Okay.
And in my mind, I was thinking of the traditional, what I'll call traditional gray
Mhm.
being. That's what I had in my mind. But no, he didn't mention exactly what kind of being. But what he said about their interest, CIA's interest in these beings and human DNA
Yeah.
in their genome, was what I call because what he said afterwards rang all kinds of like, oh, this sounds really classified. And that was CIA had a program to trace this alien DNA in certain families in the United States. And he mentioned a particular region that this research occurred in the Northeast United States. He won't go any further than that. That certain families, and particularly their children, were of interest to CIA.
This gets really dark, in my opinion, because right now, as you guys know, there's, for example, it's just a correlation. I'm not saying that this is directly related, but the telepathy tapes information is coming out. It's really controversial. We just heard Chris Bledsoe during the Ross Coulthard interview saying that Jake Barber, his kids, he has twins. He said it before. And that one of his kids has psionic abilities. And I just wonder if this might be related in any way. It's startling if it's true, of course.
Don't know. I didn't know what to make of it back then. But you start talking about the GATE program and subsequent studies of children and their capabilities and their abilities to do certain psionic things. That now comes to my mind since that was brought out more recently.
So the CIA was interested in potentially tracking the activity of hybrids, human alien hybrids in the United States.
That and going back in their lineage as well.
Their lineage.
Right. And going back in their ancestors.
So I would say, just add to this, that this is not just focused in the United States. I guess the CIA was only doing it there, but I know of some people that talk about them having some kind of special DNA and being persecuted for that. And yeah, it goes way back. Yeah. And it's not happening just in the US. I've heard from people from Australia, from the UK, from Spain, a specific region in Spain as well, that allegedly has unique DNA there. And I'm talking about the Basque country, the Basque region. Look it up. People from there, they have a DNA that nobody else has in the world. And this is real. You guys can look it up.
Ancestry as well. I don't know how they collected this DNA. We have oversight now, and that oversight started in the mid-'70s, congressional oversight. This sounded like it occurred before there was congressional oversight, because you couldn't do that today.
Yeah, no, it'd be illegal.
Yes, completely. So this may have occurred earlier,
right?
That they were interested, and then when we developed in the 90s, we developed the ability to sequence the human genome completely. That may have furthered the investigation into the alien DNA.
Has there ever been, and feel free to answer this with a one-word answer, has there ever been a situation that you were in where you've gotten confirmation of the government's involvement with human alien hybrids?
Yes.
Okay. And from a credible source, you could say.
Yes.
Okay. So they know about the hybrids.
Yes.
Okay. And you would, I mean, gun to your head right now, you would say absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes.
Wow.
I'll just leave that at that, because that's really startling. But take a look at the entire interview. I would just give you guys one final little snippet, because I found this really interesting, which is the name of a new organization that I didn't know about. And I'm sorry if you guys already did, but this is the first time I hear about it. We all know that the National Reconnaissance Office exists. That's where David Grush worked for a little bit. But I did not know that there was a National Underwater Reconnaissance Office. And John Ramirez talks about it here.
they knew about that, and so that I think that's why I wasn't allowed to be read into that particular compartment.
Oh, he wasn't allowed to be read into a compartment from the Navy that investigated stuff and retrieved stuff underwater. This is what John Ramirez is talking about here. And this is where he comes out with the name of this organization that I didn't know existed. Maybe you guys did, but I did not.
But it has to do with undersea stuff, and I know that that particular branch that Ken was in did some interesting things under the water.
You know, underwater comes up more and more. I mean, obviously, there's a book that I'm just starting to read now by Richard Dolan. He put out on.
Oh, by the way, I'm speaking to Dolan tomorrow. Just letting you know.
The history of USOs.
Yeah.
And, you know, formerly, I was also looking into this alleged whistleblower that came forward on one of these forums. Talking about mobile construction units underwater, fast-moving, large objects. And then we hear things, you know, from Lou, like him or not. You know, he said this multiple times, and that's been corroborated by other people, including a Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet.
Right.
You know, who said, yeah, there are these massive objects down there moving at 400 or 500 knots.
Right.
Which is very fast.
Yes. And so when Ken was explaining why the Pentagon didn't want me to be read, and I was arguing why I should be read, he said, "You don't understand, John. This program is the highest secret, top secret in the entire United States government. This top secret information exceeds that of Manhattan Project." And he mentioned Manhattan Project by name, exceeds the Manhattan Project. And the Pentagon doesn't want you to be read.
Whoa.
So, okay.
That's in this specific underwater one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
And I knew about we use fast attack submarines for spying. Everyone knows that submarines are great reconnaissance vehicles, but it has nothing to do with reconnaissance, mundane, prosaic reconnaissance of an adversary submarine.
No, now we're going to talk about something bigger than the Manhattan Project.
Bigger than the Manhattan Project, and that's the key phrase that it was his way of telling me what this program was about without saying what the program was about.
It's UFOs.
Yeah, it's something anomalous under the sea. Let's put it that way.
Well, it's either that or a kraken.
Right.
You
and
know,
I
like...
know that his branch did operations under the sea, retrieving things. Now, just to be fair, it could be
submarines, aircraft.
Yeah, it could be adversary undersea.
That is something that I like about Mr. Ramirez, because he's always level-headed. You know, he makes these claims that really blow your mind. Then he makes comments like these, like, just to be fair, it could be that. That's something that I really recognize from him, from other interviews he's done in the past. There are two really good ones that he recently did with Jimmy from UAP Files. He did one alongside Dr. Jack Sarfati, and another one just alone with Jimmy on the UAP Files podcast. You guys should check them out. I'll leave them in the description so you can check them out.
Satellites
Stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but
rockets.
Yeah. But there's something, I can't mention the name, but I know the people who worked there in that particular program. And if I said the names, you would say,
I see.
I'm not going to say the names.
That's pretty wild, right? I'm not going to show any more because these are the two most important snippets that I found. And we've been this a long video already, but I just wanted to share with you guys this. What do you think about this alleged hybrid program that Mr. Ramirez was read into, allegedly? What do you think about Mr. Ramirez in general, about his claims, about his entire interview repertoire he's had over a few years now? As I told you, he's a really educated man. He's a really polite man. So I do think that he believes what he's saying, and he is who he says he is. He was in the CIA for 25 years. That is absolutely true. So I don't know what to make of it, but let me know what you make of it. And what do you think about this NURO that he talks about? I didn't play it there, but it's a little before he talks about it. I just wanted him to say how secretive this program is. And the National Underwater Reconnaissance Office. Happy hunting to everybody who's going to start looking for all of this information. Let me know what you think in the comments, and watch the entire episode of Area 52's interview with Mr. John Ramirez. It's incredible. Let me know. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That only takes you a few seconds. It is what helps us the most. So thank you. But if you want to support us in any other way, there are a few links down there. You can take your pick. You can become a member on the channel, or you can support us through KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated. So thank you. That's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember, stay curious and inquisitive, like Chris Ramsay and Mr. John Ramirez. Always. Bye.